Detroit Den 313. What's up? It's your boy Will back with another episode. Listen, it is now what we'll call, I guess, Victory Tuesday. Victory Tuesday. I didn't put out a video on Monday with purpose. And that was because I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer. Did not want to be a Debbie Downer. We beat up on the Tennessee Titans. We belt to ass, for lack of a better word. Sorry for the kids that are watching the show, but we put the belt to the butt. What was it? 52-14. Yeah, it was just a beatdown. It was a beatdown. But there was some issues, man. There was some issues. So I'm not gonna get on here and talk about all of the cool things that happened. We've already hashed that out. I'm sure you guys already got on and watched your podcast to feel good on Monday. That's why I didn't hop on and go too crazy with it because, like I said, I didn't want to sound like a Debbie Downer. I didn't want to come on here and feel like I was being negative. And I didn't leave the game feeling super negative, but there's some things that I've seen ever since the Aiden Hutchinson injury and just kind of putting things into perspective. So that's what I want to talk about today. Leading with that is this. We definitely need to make a trade, right? I believe that's going to happen. I'm not in a super crazy rush to do it. We have until November 5th. I did see the press conference with Dan Campbell, all giddy and jumping up and down and feeling good. So I think that obviously we probably do have something coming, barring that there's any type of issues. So I'm excited, and I'm just going to stay on the edge of my seat for it. I did see Josh Uche go. That if you did, you watched my previous podcast, you saw that he was one of the guys that I was looking at as maybe a guy we could bring in for the cheap. I think his contract was around $3 million, not including a few incentives. So he would have been cents on the dollar. I think he went for a six rounder. It is what it is. Dead to me. Forgot about him. Vamonos, whatever. I trust Brad. He's going to take care of business. He's going to do the right thing for us. I think there's some better guys that are out there. He was just a guy that I thought that maybe we could get on a value deal. So that said, back to this game and kind of just breaking things down for me since the Cowboys game. We beat up on a Cowboys team who was missing a lot of players. We did dominate them, but they didn't have a lot of their guys. That's just the reality of the situation. There was no Micah Parsons. Lawrence wasn't out there. The list goes on. They were missing dudes. I think CeeDee Lamb was pretty much the only receiver with a heartbeat out there. They were missing a lot of weapons. So there was that. We did what we were supposed to do now, and they still had an NFL squad that had NFL players. So I don't want to make it sound too crazy, but we did what we were supposed to do. Minnesota Vikings came to town. They were supposed to be a true test, and it was a test, but we took care of business. We found a way to win. That was cool. Without Aiden Hutchinson, we did some things, but we also got exposed. After that game, Sam Darnold was the leader in average amount of time to have in the pocket to throw a football. I think he still may be in the pocket out there in Minnesota waiting to throw down the field. He had absolutely forever to throw that football on some of those plays. It's an issue when you play better quarterbacks. If they have the gold standard, I think some people don't know, so I'll put it out there. The gold standard for time to execute passes down the field is 2.5 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1000, right? And nobody's been home. Sam Darnold, before last, I didn't look and see what it is this week, but last week he had over 3 seconds to throw the football. So that's well surpassed the gold standard that he was having sitting in that pocket. That's a problem. That's a problem when you start to get towards these upper echelon quarterbacks, talking about the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomes of the world. You can't give them an eternity to find an open guy because they're either going to beat you with their arm or they're going to take off and beat you with their feet. And I've seen Sam Darnold doing way too much scrambling, and he's nowhere near the caliber of quarterback with his feet, or shoot, or just caliber of quarterback if we're really talking, as some of these other guys that I mentioned. So that's problem number one I'm looking at. Problem number two is we started this game off making Mason Rudolph look like he was Tom Brady. He started this game off dicing us up. Him and Calvin Ridley, I think they had 6 receptions on the first drive or something crazy like that. I think he had over 100 yards and like 10 receptions in the first half or 11, some crazy number. I don't know. But they were just doing their thing right out of the gate. Tennessee Titans aren't a good football team right now. They have a great defense, but offensively, they're not a good football team. 360 degrees, they're not a good football team. If their special teams coordinator isn't on a hot seat right now, I would be extremely surprised. They're struggling right there in Tennessee, and it's been a bit of a yard sale, which I might get into earlier, talking about one of those guys that I might like to see as a Detroit Lion. If a trade doesn't come out before tomorrow, before my next podcast show, I'll definitely put up a podcast on a few guys from the Tennessee Titans and a couple other guys that I think could interest the Detroit Lions. So it seemed like we might be on the edge of some news, but if we don't get it, maybe I'll post that out there. Now, flowing back into this Mason Rudolph situation, pulling up the stats from Sunday's game, Mason Rudolph had on average 2.86 seconds to throw the football. 2.86. We said the gold standard is 2.5. Again, we're getting near that 3-second range. It's not good. It's not good. What we have out there is not going to be, in my opinion, acceptable to really have a push at the end of this thing. I think the better teams are really going to expose some of the things we have to do to find pressure. And what do we have to do to find pressure? The exact same thing that Brian Flores did when he came to town. Blitz, 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 blitz. Since we lost Aiden Hutchinson, we went from blitzing about 29% of the time to blitzing 40.8% of the time. If you blitz, maybe you get home, maybe you pay. It's boom or bust. It's risk reward. When you're blitzing a lot, if you get caught, you give up touchdowns a lot of time or big plays. Coach Campbell talks about it all the time after the games and at halftime. You hear him say, we got to stop the explosives. That's what he's talking about. No big plays. We don't want to give up big plays. We want to make them inch their way down the field. We want to play bend but don't break defense. We want to punch at footballs. We want to get opportunities to get interceptions and turnovers and takeaways. You don't do that when you're giving up big plays. What's the easiest way that I think you can give up big plays is when you're blitzing and you get caught, right? So we can't blitz 40% of the time for the rest of the season to have success. What have I seen so far from the Detroit Lions here in the last few weeks? I've seen us bend a few bad teams over our leg. I've seen us etch out a win against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm looking to see us make a move. I don't know who it is, but it does sound like something is happening down the road. So I guess what I'm saying is this. I'm excited. I've really waited a long time, couple of decades, maybe actually quite a few decades, more than a couple. I'm not going to put my age out there, but I waited quite a few decades to have a Detroit Lions team that's successful. I'm not going to forget where this came from. We're not too far removed away from being an 0-16 team. I'm thankful that we are a successful team, but I'm getting greedy just like everybody else. We have a Super Bowl caliber team. Let's go after that Super Bowl. Now, I'm going to support however Brad does this thing. He's been consistently making us better. He's been consistently making awesome, phenomenal moves that ultimately on the back end make us a better football team. So I'm going to stay the course and wait. I know that there's still a lot of guys out there that we can still go get, man. I mentioned a guy like Josh Sweat. Zadarius Smith is still out there. Myles Garrett's and the Dream guys are out there still as well. I would venture to say it's got to be something big rather than small, because the way Coach Campbell was giddy at that press conference today kind of did a little something to me. It got me a little excited. So guys, put it in the comments. Let me know, who do you think is going to be the next Detroit Lions edge rusher to come to town? Or do you think we don't need anybody and Coach Glenn can keep getting it done, mixing and matching, stunting and blitzing, and we can push with the guys that we got in camp? That's all I got for this one. I'll be back with another one.